that was really scary. My husband had been sent to Salt Lake City to play on that hockey team, and Kelly and Chris and I were still in Chicago. He had to go out there and find a place for us to live. Then we were going to move out there. Well, one particular night, I had a dream. I had a dream that Kelly had fallen in a pool and was drowning. And I woke up and I heard Chris screaming in the other room. And I went, what in the world? And he was screaming, Mom, Kelly's drowning, Kelly's drowning. And I ran into the room to quiet him down, and I went, my Lord, we both just had the same dream about Kelly. So when my husband called up the next day, I said, whatever you do, please, please do not get a place that has a pool, because Chris and I both had a dream last night that Kelly was drowning in a pool. And he goes, oh, don't worry about it. You know, he just sort of brushed that off. Well, Chris really was hysterical. He was screaming, and he was yelling, Mom, Kelly's drowning. So I calmed him down, and I said, well, Chris, if that ever happens, whatever you do, the first thing you do is you run and get help, and you yell for help. You run and get help. So he said, okay. Well, we forgot about this. You know, we get to Salt Lake City, we moved into this apartment, and one day I had the wives over for lunch, and they brought their kids with them. And the one kid was about, 12 years old, I guess. So they were bored in the apartment, and they wanted to go outside and walk around in the snow. So they did. They took Chris and Kelly, who was probably a year and a half because she could walk, but she was still little. Well, the one thing we said to them was, don't go near the pool. And I still had not remembered anything about this dream at that point. And so they go outside, and we're sitting there, and I happen to be looking up out the window, and I see my son running across the road. He almost got hit by a car doing it, screaming, Mom, Kelly's drowning, Kelly's drowning. And I just, at that moment, remembered the dream. And luckily for us, the manager, all I know is he ran out there, and there was a tarp on it. And in the winter, when you have a tarp, and there's nothing to support anything underneath, when the snow comes, Salt Lake City has a lot of snow, when the snow comes down, that all turns to water on top, and it fills up the tarp in the middle. Well, she had slid down into that water. Well, he got out there on the tarp himself and reached in and grabbed her and pulled her out. That was an unbelievable thing, because that was exactly like the dream we both had.
My mom and my brother, they had told me that they had both had a dream that I had drowned or was going to drown. And oddly enough, I think after that, it actually happened. I had fallen into a covered pool where the tarp had filled with water. And as little as I was, that was deep enough for me to drown. But they did tell me that they had both had that dream, and it had actually come true. And I think actually they had, now that I remember, I think they were talking about a plane crash one time too, that they both had a dream about a plane crash within a couple weeks of each other, and there was actually something that had occurred around that time with the plane as well. They both seemed to have dreams that mirrored each other.